إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما ثم أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل بدعة ضلالة رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم ثبتنا عند الموت بلا إله إلا الله آمين يا رب العالمين. Before I get into today's khutbah, I'd like to briefly go over the ayat that I chose for today's brief time that we have with each other. There are ayat from Surah Ghafir, and these ayat are talking about the story of Musa and Fir'aun. And the story of Musa and Fir'aun is mentioned in many places in the Quran. Many different chapters, and each different story and place reveals specific details that are unique for the ayah or the verses that it was revealed in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Ghafir, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد أرسلنا موسى بآياتنا وسلطان مبين إلى فرعون وهامان وقارون فقالوا ساحر كذاب فلما جاءهم بالحق من عندنا قالوا اقتلوا أبناء الذين آمنوا معه واستحيوا نساءهم وما كيد الكافرين إلا في ضلال. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Musa, one of the five ulul azm min al-rusul, to Fir'aun. Fir'aun at the time was the supreme ruler not only of Egypt, not only of the region, but of the world in that time. Fir'aun was the lingua, he was the superpower. His word goes. No other army, no other country, no other nation dared to defy or go against him. And Fir'aun was very smart in understanding the power that he had within his hands. So much so that other nations would send people to go and learn from how Fir'aun was able to amass all of this power amongst his people. And one of the descriptions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Fir'aun in Surah Al-Fajr was وَفِرْعَوْنَ ذِي الْأَوْتَادِ. And Fir'aun, the people of pegs. Awatid in linguistic meaning, is something as a peg that is used to put in the ground so that you can plant a tent in a specific place. And one of the political strategies of Fir'aun, for lack of a better term, was that he was able to mobilize his military units and have them move from place to place, from region to region. For A, to show how powerful he was, and to B, to actually be able to control the people that he was keeping under his control. No matter where they went, so much so that when other people would travel and see some of the monuments that you currently see in Egypt, they would look at it in amazement and say, wow, these people must be so powerful, we must make sure we never ever mess with them. His idea was to psychologically intimidate those around him, to never ever think of crossing him. And so much so that that kind of built up his arrogance, built up his pride, built up his ego, to the point that we know he told the children of Israel, أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى, I am your Lord, the Most High. Remember, that didn't happen overnight. There was a careful, calculated, meticulous way in which he went about enslaving people here, way before he enslaved them here. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا مُوسَى بِآيَاتِنَا وَسُلْطَانٍ مُبِينٍ. We sent Musa with our signs and with clear authority. Look at the wording of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, Sultan mubin, clear authority. Musa alayhi salam is not a nation. He's not a tribe. He's not a country. He's not an army. But Allah is saying that you have clear authority with you to go to Fir'aun. What is that authority that Musa alayhi salam has? His authority is calling him to La ilaha illallah. His authority is calling him to the truth, to speaking out against falsehood, to telling him the first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders you to do, and أَرْسِلْ مَعَنَا بَنِي إِسْرَائِيل. That is the authority that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Musa. Now you may think, now I tried to contextualize this when I was going over it, and it astonished me. But we're not comparing ourselves to Musa alayhi salam or anything, but I wanted, for the sake of this khutbah, let's just try to put this in practical terms for us to understand. This may be the equivalent, I'm talking about a person in Musa alayhi salam's place. I'm not saying any of us have that message, but let's say someone, a person, were to go to Congress or the Senate or wherever, whoever passed the bill to approve all of this aid sending overseas now, and going to them by themselves and to say, stop, this is incorrect, and calling them to the truth. Does anyone here think that that person would even make it past the Secret Service, let alone to whoever is in, all the way to the highest seat in the free world? Nope. Do you not think that Musa alayhi salam was afraid? Musa alayhi salam confessed. Oh Allah, please send my brother Harun with me. Inni akhafu an yukadhibun. I'm afraid that they're going to say that I'm alive. This is Musa. When I encourage everyone to take time to try to read about the history and the story of Musa alayhi salam. Musa alayhi salam was one of the strongest, confident, assured men. And even him was afraid to go and confront Fir'aun. Remember, Musa alayhi salam grew up in the royalty in the house of Fir'aun. Now you may think about that. Think about that for a second. The one who raised you and provided for you and gave you wisdom and taught you how to rule and basically prepared you for this life of royalty, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you now, to that person, tell him to submit. Tell him that he's wrong. Tell him that he needs to stop what he's doing. That is the sultan that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Musa. إِلَى فِرْعَوْنَ وَهَامَانَ وَقَارُونَ. So Allah didn't only send Musa to Fir'aun, to the head of the government. No, He also sent him to Haman, his military advisor. And Qarun. I was about to say something. Qarun was not from the royalty of Fir'aun and his family. Qarun was actually one of the people of Israel. One of the children of Israel. إِنَّ قَارُونَ كَانَ مِنْ قَوْمِ مُوسَى فَبَغَى عَلَيْهِمْ. Qarun was from the people of Musa, but he sold himself. He was a sellout. He was one of the children of Israel that Fir'aun appointed to make sure that things were running in order. And he was given a lot of wealth. In terms that we may understand here, Qarun was a house slave, in charge of all of the field slaves. Qarun was one of them, but Fir'aun made him in charge of his fellow Banu Israel. So when Musa alayhi salam came to Fir'aun and Haman and Qarun with this clear authority, they all came together and said, what can we say? What do we have to say to protect ourselves? فَقَالُوا سَاحِرٌ كَذَّابٌ. This Musa, he's a liar. Musa's a liar. Musa's a magician. قالوا إن هذان لساحران يريدان أن يخرجاكم من أرضكم بسحرهما. These two, Musa and Harun, they're both magicians. They want to expel you from this land that belongs to you. Please, people, read between the lines. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is latif, He's subtle, His signs are subtle. يريدان أن يخرجاكم من أرضكم بسحرهما ويذهبا بطريقتكم المثلى. And He wants to do away with this perfect lifestyle, this perfect way of life that we have taught you, that your forefathers and fathers have given you. This نحن المثلى, this way, the way of Fir'aun is the way that everybody wants to emulate. The way of the superpower is the way that everybody wants to be like. And Musa and Harun, they want you to go away from this. They don't want you to be, they want you to be outcasts. So Fir'aun had a media propaganda already ready. He had a narrative to push. Way before CNN. Fir'aun had his own narrative to push to his people. He said, no, this Musa, he's a magician, he's a liar. He's not bringing anything good to you. There's no reason for you to follow him. فَلَمَّا جَاءَهُمْ بِالْحَقِّ مِنْ عِنْدَنَا. And when Musa alayhi salam presented them with the truth from us, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what do you think Fir'aun's response was? Because naturally, Fir'aun could easily have just been done with all of them and just got rid of them in one go. But there was a purpose behind keeping Banu Israel as second-class citizens. Actually, I apologize. There was a purpose of keeping Banu Israel as slaves. No freedom. Involuntary. Forever. There was a benefit, a fa'idah for him. So instead of killing all of them, do you know what his response was? قَالَ اقْتُلُوا أَبْنَاءَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَعَهُ وَاسْتَحْيُوا نِسَاءَهُم. This, in order for this to work, in order for us to kill their spirit, we have to kill their children. Not just their children, their sons. This response involves killing children. Why? Because we need to break their spirit way before we can break them physically. And don't kill all of it. Leave some of the women so that they can have more children, and when they have children, we can kill them as well. And we can perpetuate and repeat the cycle. Think about what's happening today, brothers and sisters. Kill their children so we can break their spirit. But you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing in the Quran is by coincidence. He says, وَمَا كَيْدُ الْكَافِرِينَ إِلَّا فِي ضَلَالٍ. وَمَا قَالَ وَمَا كَيْدُ فِرْعَوْنَ إِلَّا فِي ضَلَالٍ. Allah didn't say, and the plan of Fir'aun will always be misguided and never come to fruition. No. وَمَا كَيْدُ الْكَافِرِينَ إِلَّا فِي ضَلَالٍ. Any person who disbelieves, any person who transgresses, any person who is an oppressor, who wants to do this, their ultimate plan, their God-given right, will never come to fruition. Because Allah knows that there is more than one Fir'aun and there will be more Fir'auns to come. وَمَا كَيْدُ الْكَافِرِينَ إِلَّا فِي ضَلَالٍ. And so Fir'aun was like, we're killing their kids, we're leaving some of their women, we're causing them destruction. But people are still believing in Musa. People are still following him. What's up with that? We can't defeat them. They have no army. They have no military backing. They have no allies. They're a small amount of people. إِنَّهُمْ لَشِرْذِمَةٌ قَلِيلُونَ. They are a useless, small, good-for-nothing amount of people. But why can't we defeat them? We can't get rid of them. Then Fir'aun says, وَقَالَ فِرْعَوْنُ ذَرُونِي أَقْتُلْ مُوسَى. Fir'aun said, you know what? I'm the big guy in charge here. Let me just go after Musa. Let me go after their leader. Let me go after their leader and take care of him so that it can be an example for no one to ever step out of line. Anyone that dares to come and approach me and tell me that I'm wrong, this is their end result. And if I do that, the rest, they'll fall in line. They'll go back to being the slaves that they really are. Anyone that dares to fall out of line and not follow the agenda, that capital punishment is what they can expect. That was Fir'aun's policy. وَلْيَدْعُ رَبَّهُ, and let him call his Lord. Just remember that word. وَلْيَدْعُ رَبَّهُ, and let him call his Lord. And then Fir'aun, he made a public announcement. He had to make a public announcement to his people. إِنِّي أَخَافُ أَن يُبَدِّلَ دِينَكُمْ. I'm afraid that he's going to change your way of life. You see this way of life that we have, our nation, Egypt, it's so powerful. It's so great. Everyone wants to be like us. And here comes Musa. He wants to change that from you. All of this advancement, all of this success, all of this glory. Do you want to give all of that up for this guy, Musa? He's not even truly royalty. He's one of you, and I spared him and raised him and took him in and fed him and clothed him and taught him and everything. And now he wants you to turn away from your way of life that you've known, that your father and your grandfather and your great-grandfather, this is the way that you've known. And he wants to turn you away from that. Musa is a threat. He's a threat to our national security. And we have to get rid of Musa and all of the children of Israel. And even if some of them don't follow Musa, well, the ones that are following Musa, they're just using them as human shields. Right? They're using them as human shields. And so if they all go, it's just collateral damage. It's par for the course when it comes to war. إِنِّي أَخَافُ أَن يُبَدِّلَ دِينَكُمْ أَوْ أَن يُظْهَرَ فِي الْأَرْضِ الْفَسَادِ. Or on top of that, I am afraid that he's going to cause great corruption in this land, this beautiful land of Egypt. Fir'aun, I am working in your best interest to preserve this nation. And so when he makes this public announcement, Musa alayhi salam responds to him. وقال موسى إني عذت بربي وربكم من كل متكبر لا يؤمن بيوم الحساب. And Musa alayhi salam said, I seek refuge in my Lord and your Lord, Fir'aun. You who think you don't have a Lord, you do have a Lord. He's my Lord too. And I seek refuge min kulli mutakabbirin, from every arrogant person who does not believe in the day when they will have to answer to Allah. SubhanAllah. Look at the power of those words. He's telling Fir'aun, there will come a day where you have to answer for what you've done. وَمَا كَانَ رَبُّكَ نَسِيًّا. And your Lord never forgets anything. It is not in the sunnah of your Lord to forget. وَلَا يَظْلِمُ رَبُّكَ أَحَدًا. Us as Muslims, sometimes we falsely equate musawah, the concept of having things equal, and justice, and we think sometimes those two terms are interchangeable. As Muslims, we believe in ultimate justice. You may go through a lot of trials and tribulations and heartache in this world, and you may be wronged, wrongfully murdered, wrongfully stolen from, having your land taken away from you. All of those things may happen in this dunya. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring justice in the akhirah. Justice will prevail. If it doesn't happen here, there will be a day that it happens, on the Day of Judgment. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. So, going back to the story of Musa and Fir'aun, Fir'aun saying his statement and Musa saying his statement. You know, prior to that, Fir'aun was rallying his troops and they said, you know what? Enough of all of this, we're going to just do a ground invasion. We can't get rid of them right now. We don't understand why, but we are just going to go in. Now, mind you, Banu Israel, again, they are not a country, they're not an army, they're not a military, they are a small group of people. But this big, bad wolf, with all of their army and their military, are going to fight against them. And before they do, Fir'aun gathers his troops and he gives them a motivational speech. Normally, you would think that you need a motivational speech. Let's say if a really small group is going against a big group, or they're equal numbers, but one group is not really talented and they're going against vastly superior talent. You may need to rile them up emotionally and motivate them to overachieve and do better than what they actually can do. And so he does this. In Surah Al-Shu'ara, Fir'aun is telling his troops, إِنَّهُمْ لَشِرْذِمَةٌ قَلِيلُونَ. They are a very small, useless, pathetic group of people. وَإِنَّهُمْ لَنَا لَغَائِظُونَ. And they have made us extremely angry. They've angered us. They've insulted us. How can they say that our way of life is not good? How can they say Fir'aun is not our Lord? They've made us angry. Aren't you angry? They want to take away your way of life. They are deserving of this. All we are doing, we are acting in self-defense. We are the true victims here. We're acting in self-defense. We're defending our way of life. This is a matter of national security. And if you're not a good patriot, if you don't love your country, if you do love your country, I should say, you will support this. If you are a true patriot, you will back us. وَإِنَّا لَجَمِيعٌ حَاذِرُونَ. And we will take every single precaution that we can possibly take to make sure that our plan works, that our ultimate goal comes to fruition. But then, the last ayah that I wanted to talk about today talks about a person who has a very honorable title. رَجُلٌ مُؤْمِنٌ مِنْ آلِ فِرْعَوْنَ مُؤْمِنُ آلِ فِرْعَوْنَ. The believer from the family of Fir'aun. This is a person who was witnessing all of this happening, who probably grew up in it from a young age and was taught this is all they know. They don't know any better. But he had Iman in his heart. And it got to a point where even he could not keep it in anymore. It was time for him to speak out, to speak truth, even if it meant that life wouldn't be the same for him anymore. وَقَالَ رَجُلٌ مُؤْمِنٌ مِّنْ آلِ فِرْعَوْنَ يَكْتُمُ إِيمَانَهُ. He was concealing, he was keeping his iman, his faith in his heart. He wasn't broadcasting it to everybody. أَتَقْتُلُونَ رَجُلًا أَن يَقُولَ رَبِّيَ اللَّهُ. Are you really going to kill a person for merely saying, my Lord is Allah? وَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ. And he has come to you with clear evidences from your Lord. وَإِن يَكُ كَاذِبًا فَعَلَيْهِ كَذِبٌ. And if he's a liar, then whatever he's talking about, it's only going to harm him. وَإِن يَكُ صَادِقًا يُصِبُكُمْ بَعْضَ الَّذِي يَعِدُكُمْ. And if he's telling the truth, then indeed you will, guys, be able to reap some of the things that he's promising you. And I know our time is up, I just want to focus on the ending of this ayah. He said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي مَنْ هُوَ مُسْرِفٌ كَذَّابٌ. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي مَنْ هُوَ مُسْرِفٌ كَذَّابٌ. Allah verily will never, ever let the plans come to fruition for those who are musrif, who do things in excess. Meaning, oh, you killed one of us, we're going to kill 1,000 of you and be happy about it. You killed 10 of us, we're going to destroy entire neighborhoods, and we don't care who we kill. Collateral damage and all. Kadhab. People who lie and try to conceal and twist the narrative. Oh, but some of those children of Israel were the real bad ones. And I know not all of them were bad, but the bad ones were using the good ones as human shields, and so it was just better for us to we have to get rid of this threat. Remember, Musa and his people, they're a threat. So we have to get rid of them, no matter what. It's a matter of national security. That's what they're saying. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي مَنْ هُوَ مُسْرِفٌ كَذَّابٌ. Remember, Allah said, وَمَا كَيْدُ الْكَافِرِينَ إِلَّا فِي ضَلَالٍ. Allah knows that Fir'aun was not the only Fir'aun to come. And I know we are living in a time where we're seeing so many images and it can be very depressing and it can kind of bring us down. But I wanted to use today as a source of healing to give us that reassurance. Every Fir'aun has its starting and every Fir'aun has its end. And all of the Fara'ana have the same end. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. One day. وَعْدَ اللَّهِ لَا يُخْلِفُ اللَّهُ وَعْدَهُ. Their day will end. كُلُّ مَنْ عَلَيْهَا فَانٍ وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ ذُو الْجَلَالِ وَالْإِكْرَامِ. And I want to end our khutbah. I know here, us in America, sometimes we feel like there's not much we can do. But wallahi, if what has happened over the last few weeks, if it has caused you to pray more, if it's caused you to be more consistent with your 5 salawat, if it has caused you to open the Quran, to forgive those who've wronged you, to understand that this dunya is temporary, to be patient in whatever it is that you're going through, then I will tell you, you don't have to worry about us freeing Palestine, because Palestine is freeing us. Palestine is freeing us from the things that hold us back from connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give victory to our brothers and sisters in Palestine, to give victory to our brothers and sisters in Congo, to give victory to our brothers and sisters in Sudan, and in all of the places where the Muslims are going through trials and tribulations. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. وأقم الصلاة.